and Cam had another recent public back and forth.
I didn't have nothing. I don't want people to think I'm going back and forth. I'm just telling my truth. You heard?
Right.
And in terms of me telling my truth, if people feel they need to have a rebuttal or whatever they got going on, let them do it. This ain't a battle. People know this is not a battle at all.
Is it still a brotherhood? Is it still family?
Nah, it definitely ain't no brotherhood.
Definitely not.
Definitely ain't no brotherhood. It been not no brotherhood. You heard?
And it's not fixable.
We taught you how to rap. How you ran the whole organization. How you made Diplomat. You ain't make none of this stuff. You was a fan. I put you down. But you had a free cred.
He wanted that. He was watching them be that, like Mace be that and Cam be that, and looked at, and it was finally, he had one.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, we like Jimmy better than you anyway, Cam. Then you gotta watch and see how he responds. And then when you see, he like, oh, he really like that.
Before she passed, Cameron's mama looked him dead in the eye and warned him straight up, that man gonna try to kill you. She wasn't talking about no random enemy either. She meant Jim Jones, the same dude Cam called his brother. This wasn't no rap beef or clout chase. This was a real-life death warning. And now everything she felt in her bones is unfolding right before our eyes. 50 Cent been said it. Max B tried to warn folks too, but nobody ever thought the biggest threat to Cam's life would come from his own team. So what was Jim's end game? Cam's crown? His life? Or just petty revenge for some past wound he couldn't let go of?
Jimmy was not a rapper then.
Right.
He was your man, like on the side, like in the side, just he was not a rapper at all.
Right.
But I was like, we like Jimmy better than you anyway, Cam. Then you gotta watch and see how he responds. And then when you see, he like, oh, he really like that.
Everybody knows the tension between Cam and Jim been bubbling for years. But word is, Cam's own mama, Frederica Giles, told him long before she left this earth that Jim was plotting to take him out. And listen, this ain't coming from some gossip blog. This was his mother, the woman who birthed him and knew his soul. If you know Cam, you know Frederica was more than just his mama. She was his day one, his backbone, his inspiration. He rapped about her, spoke about her with love in every interview, and kept her close at all times. So when she said Jim had darkness in him, that wasn't gossip, that was a straight up warning. And now when you step back and connect the dots, it's spooky how real it feels. 50 saw it. Max B lived it. They've been saying Jim was jealous since back then, but folks brushed it off. Now, the fog's lifted and the truth's clear as day. 50 even broke it down on It Is What It Is when he told Cam how Jim moved during the Dipset versus G-Unit days. He said Jim wasn't even a real rapper, just a dude thirsty for power and titles. When 50 invited him on stage mid-war with Cam, Jim stepped up like he'd been waiting his whole life to snatch that crown.
Is it still a brotherhood? Is it still family?
Nah, it definitely ain't no brotherhood.
Definitely not.
Definitely ain't no brotherhood. It been not no brotherhood. You heard?
And it's not fixable.
And truth is, Jim been playing that sneaky long game for years. People thought it was just little sneak disses, awkward interviews, or tension over money and press. But this man went on Rap Life Radio and straight up said there's no brotherhood with Camron. Like, after everything they've been through, albums, tours, battles, all tossed out like trash with that one line, no brotherhood means no line he won't cross. And if Frederica felt that energy years ago, how many folks been ignoring the signs? Max B been calling him a snake too? Max was right there when Jim was getting his first hits off the ground, but what happened? Max got cut out, underpaid, and iced out. Max always said Jim's a snake, he uses people and sells illusions. Folks thought he was just bitter, but now with Cam catching all this shade, Max looking like a damn prophet, and don't forget that DC incident.
You was so cool. And we was like, yo, Jomo's a nice guy. Mace like, yo, I think I'll teach him how to rap. Mace actually taught you how to rap. Literally. He taught you how to rap. You say it.
Mace helped me learn how to rap. Mace taught me how to rap. Mace actually showed me, he was the first person to show me how to rap. Mace actually sat me down and showed me
the magic to rap.
Back in 2005 when Cam got shot up, he was at Howard Homecoming riding in his Lambo when two masked dudes rolled up at a red light out of nowhere. Tried to jack his whip, Cam said no, and boom, got shot in both arms. He still drove himself to the hospital bleeding out, but alive. Media called it a random carjacking gone wrong, but the streets never bought it. That hit felt personal, like it wasn't about no car, it was about sending a message. Even Associated Press said it wasn't a hijack. And now with Frederica's words echoing in people's heads, that shooting don't look so random anymore. Because if Jim was really harboring envy, who's to say he ain't have hands moving in the shadows? Nothing proven yet, but Cam surviving that night wasn't just luck, it was an escape. Maybe that was the first real clue someone close was plotting. Envy don't always shout. Sometimes it just waits for that one slip, that one unguarded moment. Maybe that's why Mama Cam spoke what she spoke. Maybe she saw that switch flip in Jim before anyone else did. Maybe that red light in DC was supposed to be Cam's final ride, but he lived. And now, years later, all those old wounds are ripping back open. Jim out here moving like a man who's been holding a grudge since 2004, still trying to rewrite a story the streets already know. Folks ain't sugarcoating nothing anymore. They calling it like it is. Jim's bitter, loud, and pushing 50, trying to act 23. One dude even said, he too old to be this childish. If it wasn't for Cam, he'd still be selling chopped cheese in Harlem and weed. No skills, no education, no kingpin, just another dude trying to live rap dreams 40 years too late. Cam gave Jim purpose and a lane in rap, and instead of walking it with loyalty, he spent the next 2 decades trying to outshine the same man who lit his torch. That ain't hunger. That's betrayal. Jim was never built for no throne. He just wanted to steal the seat. And now that the truth's leaking out, folks finally calling him what he is, a Judas. A bench warmer trying to act like he ran the whole team. A grown man who literally got taught how to rap, now throwing shots at the very teachers who gave him a lane. Even Jim admitted himself, Mace and Cam taught me how to rap. That's wild. But the math ain't mathin'. Jim basically exposed his own intentions loud and clear. Looking back, the shade, the sneaky switches, those passive-aggressive interviews, it was always there. Folks just didn't want to see it, but now it's screaming at us. People keep talking about that time Jim linked up with 50 Cent. Remember when Dipset and G-Unit were at war and Jim ran straight to the ops, grinning on camera like it was sweet? To real ones, that was the day he showed his true colors. Cam saw it, 50 saw it, the whole culture saw it, and 50, being the cold puppet master he is, played Jim like a pawn. He knew Jim's heart was heavy with envy and loyalty was running on E, so he used him. That's why now what 50 said back in the day finally hits different. It wasn't just rap beef, it was proof that Jim was quick to flip when the spotlight moved. Fast forward to today, nothing's changed. Jim still throwing subliminals, still puffing his chest out, still screaming to the internet that he's that guy. But the streets know the real. Fans know. One comment said it best, Jim, you got cooked enough, bro. How you acting like a boss when the same ones you dissing taught you how to rap? LOL facts. For real, there wouldn't even be a Jim Jones the rapper without Mace sharpening his bars and Cam handing him the blueprint. Now he's online dissing both like history forgot? Nah, people remember. And that goofy boxing challenge? Jim, a grown man with gray in his beard, calling out Cam for a $10 million fight? That ain't hip-hop. That's pure desperation. That's a man so thirsty for attention he's ready to burn whatever legacy he's got left just to trend. And Cam? Cam ain't even flinching. He's too busy building empires, running sports shows, dropping freestyles with bars that shake the streets. Meanwhile, Jim out here yelling into mics trying to stay hot while the block been cold on him. Even fans who used to ride with Jim heavy are switching sides. One wrote, I used to be a fan of Jimmy, but this corny video is so whack. Team Cam all day. And they ain't lying. Cam getting way more money while Jim out here fighting to stay relevant. That's the real story. Disappointment and disbelief. Watching a man unravel in public, regressing instead of aging gracefully, competing with ghosts, beefing with his own past, chasing claps from a crowd that already crowned Cam as the king. Cam never needed to yell, never begged for flowers. He earned them with every verse and every wave he started. Jim, he's still trying to prove he matters. Folks even saying Jim's image was always more smoke than substance. That's heavy, especially with 50 Cent calling Jim Individual 1A, hinting at Fed ties. 50 don't say stuff like that for no reason. So when he posts old Dipset pics mocking Jim's music, it ain't random. It's a warning. Just like he exposed Jim back in 2007, he's doing it again in 2025, cause nothing changed. Now Cam's winning without even saying Jim's name, and the bitterness leaking out of every Jim interview. The jabs ain't landing, the music ain't moving, and folks see it clear. Jim's whole career been about covering up his lack of bars, growth, and humility. Fans calling him out heavy, saying, he backstabbed Maze, ran to 50, now dragging Cam into weak disses and staged beefs, all for clout. Meanwhile, Cam's legacy keeps rising. One user put it straight, ain't nothing real about that. That's fake to the core. Jim basically confessed his real intentions, a Judas for real. Another wrote, you look stupid, Jimmy. Act your age, bro. And let's be real, this ain't hate. It's mourning what Jim could have been. He had the cosigns, the lane, the energy, but he wanted credit he didn't earn and respect he couldn't keep. Now he's out here fighting shadows, yelling into the void, wondering why nobody's clapping back. Cause there ain't nothing left to clap at. Jim didn't just betray a man, he burned the very legacy that gave him his name. And the saddest part, he still wants back in, but the fans are gone. The bridge is ash, the bond dead. Cam moved on, and the world moved with him. But Jim, he's still circling them ruins, trying to rewrite history like we ain't see it happen. And now the only question is, what's he gonna destroy next just to feel relevant? Like, subscribe and stay locked in for the next one.